We're coming in hot with inspiring guests, witty banter, and colorful commentary for today's veterans and military community. This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
All right, Alphas, I hope you're having a great week. My name is Ashley Gutermuth. Thank you so much for listening to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast. I am here with the fantastic Amy Forsyth. She is the host of the Be the One podcast, also by the American Legion, not that we're biased. It's out every month on Be the One Day, which is the first day of the month, Amy, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's great to be with you and join you today. Guest hosting, and we've got a great guest coming up. Yeah. But we're really excited to launch another podcast called Be the One, and we're talking about preventing veteran suicide, and we have a lineup of amazing guests coming up. And of course, September was suicide, awareness prevention month, and so we're just going to take that throughout the rest of the year, and we've got a great lineup of some guests, and so we're going to talk more about that. But it's great to join you. We met in August at the American Legion annual convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I've been a huge fangirl of yours for such a long time, and so it was great to meet you in person, and now it's great to be with you guest hosting this podcast today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I was in the gym and you came up to me and I was doing my pretending to stretch phase.
Yeah. Well, I was like, that's actually, we have to go meet her in person. I was with Waco Hoover at the time. And so I said, do you know Ashley? Let's go meet her. And so we stalked you and
say hi. Yeah. Waco Hoover, first guest on the Be the One podcast. Awesome first guest.
Right? Yes, he's actually the chair of the Be with the One initiative, and we held a day-long seminar at the convention in Charlotte. And so we had such an amazing lineup of people really talking about veteran suicide and what the American Legion is doing. And they're really leaders in this effort. And it was such a powerful organization, great people, super talented and motivated to really tackle this issue. And so you'll be hearing a lot more of that. Well, you already are hearing a lot more coming out of American Legion, but our podcast is going to really shine a light on that and offer some resources for people.
That's fantastic, because we got to fix it 100%. So I know the American Legion's really getting behind it, and we're all trying to work together. So I'm glad you're doing it. I think the podcast is awesome, and the symposium, which I was at, was great too.
It was. Yeah, it was. It was just another element to add to resources for people, and especially this podcast here with our special guest coming up.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so do you pay any attention to the news during the week?
Well, actually, I do. I'm a news junkie. I really am.
You're a news junkie? All right. Good. So what do you have for us this week?
Yeah, working in public affairs, I'm scouring the headlines all the time looking for news. So what, you want me to kick us off with the first topic?
You go ahead. You kick us off. Right. Let's see what we got.
Well, the question is, will the NFL retire Pat Tillman's number? And so, of course, everyone remembers Pat Tillman, the Army Ranger, who was killed in action, but he had first served was an NFL superstar, and then decided, hey, I'm going to go join the Army, became a Ranger. But he is forever remembered for his decision to leave behind a multi-million-dollar professional football contract to serve in the military in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. In 2002, he stepped aside from his role as a starting defensive back with the Arizona Cardinals and enlisted. Tillman eventually deployed to Afghanistan, where he was killed April 22nd, 2004, in a friendly fire incident, and he was only 27 years old. And to date, quote, we have just over 81,000 signatures, said Sean Wilson, a Marine veteran leading the Change.org campaign. He told Military Times in an email, the growth of this movement, quote, has been phenomenal, and we have campaigned from the streets of New York City to the streets of Tokyo, Japan. And Wilson said the petition, which was launched in 2021, has also been sent to the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell. The next benchmark for the campaign will be reaching 150,000 signatures. And he is quoted as 2024 will mark 20 years since Pat Tillman's death. And we believe that this is a great way to honor a great man. Today, the Pat Tillman Foundation, founded in 2004 by Tillman's family and friends, continues to provide academic scholarships and development opportunities for service members, veterans, and their spouses. So retiring his number was 40 when he played for the Arizona Cardinals. And we have some stats here that there's only been 3 other numbers retired in professional sports. So that was NBA retired Bill Russell, number 6, and that was retired in 2022. The NHL retired the great one, Wayne Gretzky, number 99. His number was retired in 2000. And Major League Baseball retired Jackie Robinson's number 42 in 1997. And so the NFL, it's never been done before, retiring number 40 on behalf of Pat Tillman. So that's the story today. What do you think?
Yeah, I've worked for the Pat Tillman Foundation. I've done stand-up for them out in Chicago for their, they have everybody get together, all their new honorees, the people that have received the scholarships. And it is an amazing organization. I got to hang out with his brother-in-law and just sort of hear what the mission behind the Pat Tillman Foundation is and how, because it's been 20 years, and what the long-term goal is for it. It's not to keep Pat Tillman's name alive so much, is what the family was saying. It was to keep his values alive. And I love that, because it's not about just one person, right? It's about making the next generation and the next generation better. So that's a fantastic organization. If people haven't heard of it, check out the Pat Tillman Foundation and maybe apply for one of their scholarships. I'm curious how the other people got their numbers retired. What did they do? Now, like Wayne Gretzky, fantastic, awesome hockey player, right? I grew up in Pittsburgh. Mario Lemieux, very famous hockey player. Why hasn't his name been retired? Do we think that Wayne Gretzky is better? There could be people screaming at their phones right now going, Wayne is better. So I'm curious, how did people petition to have these names retired or not? I'd have to look into it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, probably just that strong following, and the NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball realized that these were the great ones, the greatest to play, or for their work after they retired, after they left, that the civic work that they did, the humanitarian efforts that they did, were worthy of retiring that number. And Pat Tillman didn't play for the NFL for all that long, but his impact and leaving the NFL to go serve in the Army, to enlist in the Army and become an Army Ranger, just speaks volumes about the type of person that he was. And so people think he was crazy for doing that, but he was just drawn and called to service. And so people can find that on change.org. And I guess you need a certain amount of signatures before it can be passed. But Roger Goodell, if you're listening out there, I think this is the perfect opportunity to retire the number and be the first, just to bring attention to his name. Now, if you go back to 2000, the year 2000, I mean, there's a whole new generation of people who might not even know the name Pat Tillman. They've heard of it. They don't know exactly what it was. So this could be another opportunity to, retell his story and inspire the next generation of either football players or those who want to serve and be like Pat Tillman.
Yeah, and if you look at those stats that you read, the NBA retired Bill Russell's number, the NHL, the MLB, it's time for the NFL. It should be Pat Tillman. Let's go to change.org.
Yeah, and who better really than Pat Tillman? Of course, as veteran, his service and sacrifice should be known, and his name should be a household name, really. And so by bringing this to the new generation or new fans of the NFL, they might actually be able to retell his story. If they have a ceremony and they retire his number, it could just be a good way to like an origin story or retelling his story 20 years after.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I think that'd be great. But today we're going to be joined by two guests. I'm really excited to talk to them. Mahnaz Akbari and Rebekah Edmondson. Mahnaz served 10 years in the Afghan Special Forces as the commander of a female tactical platoon, which is a small unit of Afghan women who worked with U.S. Special Operations Forces in Afghanistan to search, questioning, and medical assistance of women and children in a way that was respectful of Islam and Afghan culture. Rebekah Edmondson served 10 years in the U.S. Army and deployed to Afghanistan several times to support a program called the Cultural Support Team, where she trained FTPs. Both women now work with the PenFed Foundation to keep faith with the Afghans who served alongside U.S. forces by assisting with their rescue and successful resettlement into their new American communities. We'll be back to talk more with Rebekah and Mahnaz right after the break.
The American Legion is raising awareness about PTSD and veteran suicide by offering hope, camaraderie, and support.
Be the one to help end veteran suicide.
The goal of the American Legion's Be the One campaign is to destigmatize asking for mental health support.
Be the one to ask a veteran in your life how they're doing.
Be the one who saves one veteran.
Go to BeTheOne.org and help the American Legion end veteran suicide.
Will you be the one?
All right, Alphas, welcome back. I hope you're doing great. We have some awesome guests for you today. We are joined by Mahnaz Akbari and Rebekah Edmondson. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you.
The feeling is quite mutual.
Thank you so much also for having us here.
Thank you. You guys you have such a special story. I'm excited to get into it. I'm also joined by the fabulous, our guest host, Amy Forsyth. Amy, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon. Hello, ladies. It's so great to see you. This is such a special episode for me to be here with you, guest hosting. I'd love to really kick it off with Rebekah. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Let me first tell you that I also served in Afghanistan for 3 different tours. I've covered extensively, women in service, women in the Lioness program with the Marine Corps, the Female Tactical Platoon as well, and then attached to a unit that was supporting the CSTs. And so I'm very familiar with this story and the saga of, how things ended for you. But I would love to start with you, Rebekah. Can you give us a little bit about your background and how you ended up, serving in uniform, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you for setting that up so nicely, Amy. I will be sure to leave all the seedy stuff out, but needless to say, I joined the Army as a means to get my life on track. I was quite a bit older when I enlisted. I was 26 years old, living in Las Vegas, Nevada, headed nowhere pretty fast. And up until then, I'd made a living as a tattoo artist, and it wasn't really consistent work or seemingly very sustainable. So I thought I would turn a really hard corner and join the Army, and hoped to, go to college and do all those things that it would allow me to do. Little did I know that I would enjoy the experience so much that it really drove me to find that competitive edge that the Army promotes. And I started going to a lot of different special schools, like, air assault school and Army Airborne School and all the things, all the cool guy badges. And around 2011, there was a call to action, an ALARACT message that came out to all branches of the military, seeking females that were interested to deploy to Afghanistan in support of special operations missions. And so that really appealed to me at the time. I thought it was an opportunity to kind of prove ourselves as women that, we could do sort of any task that we were given. And so I volunteered for that program, as you mentioned, CST, or the Cultural Support Team, as it's known. And I found myself deployed to Afghanistan in 2012 for the first time. So maybe I'll pause there because I tend to just ramble through all the things and see if that's a good setup.
Well, absolutely. You know, to give some contextual references, for example, my first deployment to Afghanistan was in 2003, and sort of trying to get out with the, you know, units and seeing Afghanistan and with a civil affairs team, and there really wasn't the acknowledgement. Then I went to Iraq in 2006, where that's where the Marine Corps started incorporating women into the infantry platoons, and we called it a Lioness team. I was sort of part of that, but like on the peripheral, and I was the one with the camera documenting the, you know, integration. And so I went back in 2008 and then went to Afghanistan and back again in 2013 and then 2018. But to set it up, the progression of the 20-year snapshot is that how far that women have come into what was the CSTs, the cultural support teams. And so the more we can share this story, the better and the wider scope it gets. I think that understanding why women at war matter, and how, you know, with Mahnaz's story and just the saga of like getting, you know, this female tactical platoon members, you know, to the States. But let's hear more about your deployment in 2013 that was really pivotal for you.
Oh, absolutely. So it kind of stretched between 2012 and 2013 is when I went home that year. I was first deployed to Host province at Forward Operating Base Salerno, which was at the time a very busy area with activity, you know, Taliban activity and lots of missions going on at the time. I was assigned to the direct action side of the house for the CST program. So you had VSO, which stands for Village Stability Operations, where CSTs would be embedded with the Special Forces teams in remote locations. And they did a lot more of the, you know, hearts and minds, so to speak, you know, and gaining the trust of local people. Whereas the direct action side was predominantly with the 75th Ranger Regiment. So that's who I worked for throughout the course of my entire CST career. And so oftentimes people, to explain what direct action really consists of is by comparison, you know, you've got hearts and minds with the VSO side and the door kickers, if you will, on the direct action side. So what we were doing each night was going out on capture kill missions that where we would have very high level Taliban and other network commanders that we had been actively following, and had enough intelligence gathered on them to be able to action that particular target. So most often it'd be about 2 platoons of Rangers would load up on Chinooks and fly out to those remote locations where we knew that they were living. And depending on the severity of, you know, what we thought might happen, once boots were on the ground, we would either land far enough away that the so-called bad guy couldn't hear us. So we were often trekking, you know, many kilometers throughout, you know, a lot of mountain ranges. So it was a difficult infiltration most of the time, and under pretty challenging conditions with the weather and snow and all the obstacles that you can imagine encountering at night, and trying to navigate that terrain under night vision goggles, which are not exactly very helpful at most times. So it was really a challenge as a woman that had very little to no, you know, experience in the sort of tactical realm of these types of missions. But we were kind of drinking from the fire hose, so to speak. And so my first deployment out there at Salerno was pretty wild. At least 1 mission a night for the most part. And, you know, we'd often get into what people called ticks. So we would be, receiving fire and returning it. Lots of activity, to say the least. And I think maybe that's another good opportunity to pause.
It's so interesting. Your life trajectory, you were a tattoo artist, and then not that long later, you are in daily nighttime Taliban raids. Like, how was that in your headspace? Were you just so focused, or were you like, what am I doing?
Well, yeah, I was so junior to the experience that, in my head, it was mind blowing, like it's a surreal experience in of itself, but then you're seeing it through the lenses of night vision, which everything's very grainy and green and not very clear. So it was, almost in a way, kind of like a dreamlike state every time you're going out the door and you're encountering these different, very dangerous and kinetic situations. It didn't seem real oftentimes, but the fear and the things that promoted were very much real. And, to be honest, I felt like every step that I took in the beginning, I could easily, land on an IED, explosive device. So I was very nervous at all times in the beginning, and that eventually kind of faded out.
Wow. And at what point, Mahnaz, when did you meet Rebekah?
I met Rebekah in 2015.
Yeah.
In Kabul. It was a camp there, a base that was called Scorpion. So it was a training base. So we trained FTPs there. And after that, we sent FTPs as a pair, to other different provinces in Afghanistan, like Solano, Bagram, or other station.
Wow.
Well, Mahnaz, were you from Kabul and decided to join the army, or how did you find yourself in uniform at the height, really, of the war there towards the middle to the end? How did you get involved with the CSTs?
I think I need to talk a little bit about my background, because I grew up in Iran. So in Iran, Afghans doesn't have a lot of opportunity to work, to go to university. Even if they're gonna to go to university, they had to pay a lot of money, and they can't join to military, because as an immigrant, you cannot join to military in a country. So I grew up in Iran as an immigrant. So I really would love to be in military. So because I saw a lot of people, female that they have uniform, they have weapon, but because the lack of opportunity that I had in Iran, as an immigrant, it stuck in my mind that I have to join to military somehow. But in Iran, it was something impossible. In Iran, I did a lot of training. I was as a teacher, calligraphy teacher. I teach people how to do handwriting and a little bit drawing. When it was, I think I was 25, that we decided to come back to our country, Afghanistan. When we came back, before we came to Afghanistan, I told to my parents, okay, if I go to Afghanistan, I will join the military. They said that that's your life, it's your decision. You can you can do whatever you want. So when I came to Afghanistan, I was looking for a job. At first, I really would like to join the military, but I didn't know how. And so I saw one of my friends, one of our family friend, and she told me, okay, there is a project with Americans, so it's as a military, but I don't know what kind of job is it. So I told her that, okay, if it's military, I'm gonna to join that unit. So I went to Ministry of Interior, and I told them that, okay, there is a program, FTPs, I wanted to join to that program. They said that it has a lot of requirements, and one of the requirement is you need to be so strong, but I'm so skinny. And they said that you're too skinny because this kind of mission is so dangerous, and so you cannot do that. I said that, okay, I insist them a lot that you enroll me, like there are like selection, they have everything, so I go there. If they accept me, it's good. If not, that's okay. I will find another positions in other part of military. And fortunately, I went there and I passed 1 week of selection. So I passed the selection and I joined to FTP. We had like, I think, 4 months of training, 4 or 5 months of training. So after the training, I was ready for mission. And this is like a brief story of how and why I joined the military.
So we've I don't know if we've defined FTP. Did we? Female Tactical Platoon? You might have said it, Rebecca. But both of you, look at your life. You taught calligraphy, Mahnaz, and then you became the commander of a female tactical platoon that did Taliban raids. I feel, oh my God, the lives you guys have led are amazing. How do you not both have 10 books together? This is awesome. Okay. When you were trained in the FTP, Mahnaz, who trained you? Was it American people or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. At first, when I joined to FTP in 2011, all of our instructors were American, and mostly they were female American. And I think until 2015 or 16, most of our trainers were Americans, and after that we start to add like Afghan trainer, including FTP. We had like some FTP that they have like a lot of experience in missions, so we choose them as a trainer. And also we had like some Afghan male training from our other soldiers that they came and trained FTPs in some of the training they helped us.
Yeah, it's just an amazing story. I can tell you with certainty, I've been to Camp Scorpion. I've covered the female tactical platoon training and then their mission along with the CSTs. And I'd like to know, how did you guys then get together? When did you first meet?
It was in 2015 at Camp Scorpion. So for those that aren't aware, it is, right outside of Kabul, right next to the Kabul Military Training Center, which we lovingly refer to as the Fort Benning of Afghanistan. And so it was a camp that was predominantly, U.S., but the Khotejas unit, which is where the female tactical platoon was embedded, we essentially had a compound adjacent to each other. And when we first met, I was there with the purpose to try and grow the platoon. At the time, I think there were only 8 FTPs. So, the numbers of women kind of ebbed and flowed over time. And at that particular time, it was really, numbers were really low. And so the hope is to try and run a few basic training cycles to bring more women into the unit and give the more senior FTPs a break, because they were deploying constantly, and so for individuals like myself, we CSTs, we typically go on a 9 or 6 month rotation. The FTPs were just constantly deploying over and over again to the different outstations, and it wasn't sustainable. These women, granted, they were doing it somehow, it was really just inhumane to keep asking them over and over and over, and then again to just continuously be going out on these operations. So that's when we first met.
Yeah, good.
And as just add to Rebecca, from 2011 until early 2014 that I was chosen as the FTP commander. I did just more than 150 missions because we had to go missions that just go and come back for a break, maybe for 2 months, and again come back to missions. So like we had done a lot of missions.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, listeners, for the missions that you're talking about are usually night raids and tagging along with the Afghan commandos, the U.S. Special Operations trained Afghan soldiers, and you would partner with them to go on these missions. Can you describe a mission? Like, what would be an example of a typical mission?
You go first. Well, I think saying tagging along is probably a fair assessment. We, as CSTs, it was always made clear to us that we were attachments. We were not Army Rangers. At the time, there was no promise for that to, become a reality, but we were essentially augmentees. So we did tag along. And oftentimes CST found ourselves in the back of the formation. Once you got off the helicopter and you go into these tactical formations like a wedge, typically speaking, you're in the rear, and pulling rear security, and you're with the typically the commander or somebody that has a higher position within that operation, because you're really there to be an asset to the ground force commander to say, he's watching how the operation is going. And when he sees an opportunity to put CST to work, so to speak, then, you're kind of pointed in a given direction and sort of told to go to that location, do your job. And there's sort of a sequential order there. As you mentioned, it's mostly done at nighttime, under the veil of darkness. So, the enemy can't see you, but you can see them. That definitely created a slight layer of comfort at times, but bullets would end up flying and zipping past your head often, and that was still a very real threat, despite maybe they didn't know exactly where you were at. There were still rounds coming at you. So we would get with the women and children that would hopefully leave the compound willingly, or we would be sent internal to secure, so to speak, the pile or the group of women and children, and we would search them, we would question them. Mahnaz can actually probably give you a little bit better detail from her experience for contrast.
Yeah, I think the part of FTP and CSC that like in those kind of mission, it was one of the dangerous part, because we had to be like right behind the door, and like Taliban or ISIS leader, when they were inside the house, like several times they just threw like grenades, and like we were just really behind the door. And also when female, they came, like some of the female, sometimes they were not female, they were men, and they put like just a scarf in their faces. And so you had to recognize them that they are not female, and sometimes they had weapon. And we had like some a story from some other FTPs that the female that they came, they had like suicide bombs.
Yeah.
And actually one of our FTPs got shot from one of the female that came from one of the female. So like if Rebekah explained that how like the FTP got shot, like.
Yeah. Just to touch on, Mahnaz's point that you are very up close and personal with the potential enemy. It's oftentimes men would hide dressed as women, thinking that our military would never dare, interact or engage to a point where they could determine whether it was a man or a woman. But as Mahnaz said, there was an FTP that was injured as a result of her searching a woman one given night. And the woman was hiding a weapon underneath her clothing. And as the FTP kind of turned around to ask for backup because she was being very resistant to her searching her body, the woman pulled out a pistol and shot her in the back of her head through the front of her neck. And now she, she's permanently disabled, but she did survive. But that's just a good example of how close to the action and the danger that CSTs and FTPs were.
So a person that was being searched shot the person that was searching them?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. These can you enlighten people as to why these cultural support teams are so important? Why is having women involved in this such a pivotal thing?
I think like in Afghanistan, like not just in Afghanistan, like in Islamic countries, like it is inappropriate that men like search or talk with female. So like in this country, especially like in Afghanistan, like we have Taliban or Daesh or something like that. When they're gonna to do like those kind of missions, we need a female to search them, because a lot of important intelligence, important devices, like as a SIM card, as a phone, like passport, like everything that belongs to the target. So they hide with themselves. Like this kind of a mission, like I always say that it was impossible without CSCs or FTPs, because we were the person who that get all of the intelligence. We were the person who that find the target, actually the target, because when we go to the houses, there are a lot of men there, like maybe 10, 12, sometimes 8, sometimes more than 10. And so we didn't have a lot of intelligence about the target. So we just have like maybe a little bit information about like maybe their name, maybe the kind of clothes that they have, or like maybe the height, not a lot of information. So it was like FTPs and CST's job to find the target, because we asked from female and children in target, okay, who is this one, who is this one? And according to the information that we got, the female and from children inside the house, we could find the target. And so it was really important that they had like CSCs and FTPs in those missions. And other side, like when we searched them, we could like find SIM card, we could find weapon, phone, like a lot of other stuff that belongs to the target. Like SIM card, like there are a lot of other information about others, Taliban's, others, ISIS, or like passport, or like some kind of taskera. So I think the importance of job, it was because of those job just was impossible without CCs and FTP, because of this kind of stuff. Or maybe Rebekah, if you wanted to add.
No, I think you nailed it.
If if a man were to do that, would it cause more the other men there culturally to respond very like does this calm things down a bit, or does it just enable like, to me, you're raiding something anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I understand being respectful, and I think that's all wonderful, but I wonder what the extra layer is strategically. Does it keep things from escalating?
It definitely adds an element of sensitivity to the equation. We were trained to develop rapport in order to find answers to the questions that we were looking for. We had to essentially try to gain trust from these women in an environment where they have zero reason to trust us. We just blew their door off their hinges and, through a loudspeaker told them to come outside in the middle of the night. And so they're scared. Oftentimes, if you're at a location where there's definitely bad things going on, the women are well aware of it. They know why you're there and they know who you're looking for. And so it was just really dependent on whether or not the women decided to be cooperative with us, whether they liked it or not, we were going to search them. But it was at least, from woman to woman, something that we were able to do a lot more easily by saying, hey, I'm a woman, I'm going to search you, but this is nothing personal. And then you're able to develop some amount of rapport with them, speaking with them. If it were a man doing these things, there would be zero intelligence gathered from that situation, because it would be very uncomfortable and disruptive to that individual.
Wow.
And also I wanted to add something, like in Afghanistan, if a man start doing TQ,
tactical
or
questioning,
and searching from men, from female, I have experience. I think it was in 2013. I don't remember exactly the date, but something happened that we had FTPs and CSs in one of the missions. I think it was in Helmand or Kandahar. I don't remember exactly the place also, but the family, they just went and complained and said that, okay, they didn't have female, the men came here and they asked us question and search the female or something like that. And our president stopped the mission for a while.
Wow.
Because of this. And so the reason that we say that FTP should be on this mission is because of culture. If they didn't have FTPs, a lot of mission wouldn't happen. I remember one time, I had problem with my foot. I couldn't walk. And it was really hard for me to walk. And so there was a mission. There was a mission, and it was just me and another FTP. And I told to my commander, okay, I can't go to the mission because I have problem with my foot. And my commander said that, Mahnaz, if you don't go to mission, it means that we are not allowed to do these missions.
Oh, wow.
I mean that this mission was really important for female.
Yeah.
And also we had men in the houses, target, one of the reasons that FTPs and CSC were important. Also, when our male colleague asked questions from men in the houses, because they were aware, they did know everything. They did know who's Talib, who's ISIS or Daesh or something like that. They understand about the situation, and always they lie. But when we start asking questions from female or children, some of them, they didn't know about information, why they should lie, even mostly children. When I asked them, okay, when we asked them that, okay, what is the name of this guy, they just honestly answered, because they didn't know they should say lie to us. But the man in the houses, they lie always to the other male colleague when they were asking tactical questions of them. So the woman, as Rebekah said, that it was more trust sources for us to get the intelligence from them.
Yeah, just, your stories, people would not even believe or fathom, the time and the energy and the bravery of these women who would step up, not only to do a dangerous mission, but you were also putting yourself at risk, because if the Taliban or ISIS found out who you were or where your family lived, you also put them at risk, because they would come looking for you. And so that's what's happened to a lot of the commandos and the Afghan National Army, and then their families are now at risk. We fast forward 10 years to where we are now today, and the difficult struggle you must have is having left Afghanistan, and if you have family and friends and other FTP women left behind. Can you describe your feelings and your emotional reaction, how that has played out over the years?
Yeah. When we left Afghanistan 2 years ago, I think not just me, everybody, not just FTP or Afghans that came here, we were we also are, not just are, mentally problem, because as you said that our family, they are back in Afghanistan, our colleagues, our female colleagues, our male colleagues, they are in Afghanistan. So there are some group of CST that they are helping to our female tactical platoon that lived in Afghanistan. They are trying to help them to evacuate it from Afghanistan, but we have still a lot of our male colleagues. They are in Afghanistan, and like a lot of them were killed by Taliban. A lot of them are in the jail. Just yesterday, I received a message that one of our male colleague captured. Like, he was not like the first one, and he was not, he won't be and the last one. Like Taliban captured all of them, and like their family member, they are in danger. Our family member, they are in danger. Like a lot of FTPs, like they moved their families to other countries, like Iran, Pakistan, or other countries. FTPs changed like their location. They don't have money. They don't have food. Their children, they are sick. Like they even doesn't have money to take their children to the hospital. Like it's a bad situation for them. I don't know how to explain or how to keep ourselves strong. It's really hard because we had a lot of problem that is going on in Afghanistan. Even we can like just talk about like just military, like other people, like interpreter, like female in Afghanistan, like minority, like religion and ethnicities minority. Like I'm a Hazara group from Hazara ethnicities. Like every single day, like you hearing a lot of news that because Afghanistan now is a good place for tourists, and they don't like Hazaras people, they don't like my religion, and they kill us. They just cut their neck with knife, and so like the situation is not good, not just for our colleagues, for everybody. And like the feeling that we have, like it's not something that I can even talk about. That if I talk, like maybe you don't understand because maybe you didn't see like I mean that Americans, like it's really hard because I hear that my colleague were killed. I hear that my colleague were captured and tortured by Taliban. I hear that my neighbor that is Azaras or from other minority, they are killed. Like these things like really affect to our lives, and for like I don't know, like the situation that we have like from feeling side is really bad, and most of us like we really suffer from mental health problem.
Yeah, I know that you're in the U.S. now, and you came over with 42 other female tactical platoon members, which is great. And you have started to work for the PenFed Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I work when I was in Afghanistan. I was the commander of FTP, and now I work for PenFed and foundation that they are also working and provide some rent for like educational staff, like a lot of like emergency medical for the FTPs, and I work for PenFed Foundation. So everything that when FTP have a need, like I just assist them to navigate their life and resettle here in the United States.
Well, wonderful. Ladies, you have shared your story with us. We hope that you continue to share this remarkable story of courage and connection and legacy of what you went through, and that shared bond among women in uniform. It's as strong as it comes. And so we just thank you for being with us here on the Tango Alpha Lima podcast. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anywhere that we can find you? I know you're probably on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things like that. What do you know what your Instagram handle is?
I have Facebook and Twitter.
Your Twitter, okay.
And LinkedIn, and my Facebook name is Mahnaz Akbari. My LinkedIn is with my name also, but my Twitter name is my nickname is a name of a statue in Afghanistan that exist before. Its name is Shahmama. So it was a statue in Afghanistan, like belongs to the Hazaras ethnicity. It's not belongs to Hazaras ethnicity. It means that it was located in Hazaras location. So I really love, and so I put my Twitter's name to that statue.
That's fantastic. I love it. And I think it's PenFed_foundation for the Instagram as well. So people can find out ways to get involved. But do you have any specific ways that you think people should get involved to help?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the American Legion is really running point on, advocacy for the Afghan Adjustment Act would be such a, I can't say the word victory because that really doesn't coincide with any of these things. But if the Afghan Adjustment Act were to pass, it would definitely help push things in the right direction. And so the Legion has a lot of efforts towards lobbying on that front. And you can go to, actually the Legion has a direct link where it can take an individual to their state's office and leave a note saying that they're in support of that cause. So I think that primarily is the easiest way for listeners to get involved.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're rooting for you, and we're rooting for that, especially it's leaving the FTP and others in limbo, but we're all rooting for you for a good outcome, and really just a remarkable story to learn more. But PenFedFoundation.org is another place that people can go to look for information and ways to support.
Thank you.
Fantastic. It's been wonderful to hear your story. I can't wait to read the book and then watch the movie. The things that you guys have done is unbelievably remarkable. And I would love it if you would come back on and talk with us again. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And Alphas, we'll be back with you after the break.
To look out for those that served, we must be relentless. To influence Washington to do the right thing, not just for our veterans, but for the country, we must be organized. To inspire the next generation of leaders, we must be united. We must be Legion, the American Legion. Join today at legion.org/join.
Oh my goodness, Amy, what did you think? What did you think of our conversation that we just had?
Well, I'm really tied to this story because of my journey and my experiences in Iraq and Afghanistan, and just seeing the progression of how women have been incorporated into combat operations even before it was even legally allowed. And so women like Rebekah and others, and even our female Afghan counterparts and our Iraqi counterparts through the years, just really move the needle in terms of integration. And so I hope that our service leaders will take note of that and then use that to incorporate in the future fights. And so for those service members coming up now, especially the women who will have a place at the table or in the platoon or on the front lines at the tip of the spear, will remember these lessons that we learned. And then if we continue telling those stories, it just really emphasizes the important role that women at war play. And so we have a trove of these stories, but just remarkable bravery and courage by those women. And now that they've come together back here in the States and they're working together, just shows you that the bond that people have in combat operations, it just perseveres, and they can continue their work together. With the thanks of the American Legion, using the tools and the advocacy, that powerful organization, the Grassroots Action Center on the website, people can go and learn more. I love it. I love what they're trying to do and work together at all levels of government, and all echelons can get involved.
Yeah, I mean, their story is amazing. I'll hear I make a lot of social media videos, and a lot of the negative comments will be about women in the military, and they'll say they can't do this or they can't do that. And I just want to take those people and do something that will get me banned from this podcast. But we'll just say, make it so that they don't have internet access. We'll say something like, it's just, you look at that and you're like, how, even if you take away being respectful, of other cultures and things like that. Even if you strip that away from it and you go, it is tactically and strategically something that works. How about you tap into that? And how about you go, that's a good idea. Let's use it. Even, that blows my mind. But they went, a calligraphy teacher was then doing nighttime raids against the Taliban. My mind is blown. So fantastic to talk to them.
Yeah,
Okay.
what a treat. Really a treat to have them tell their story, share it with a wider audience, and so people can really learn and, capture that oral history about what life was like for them in uniform, for the Afghan, for the FTP, the Female Tactical Platoon, and the CSTs. It's the legacy that the next generation of women are standing on their shoulders. And not only is it not that they can't do it, it's already been there, done that. We've already done that. So we're just gonna, move the needle a little further along. So
all right, you know what time it is. We're about to head into our next segment, rapid fire. It's fun. We got little finger guns. Sometimes I do a little shotgun. All things I would not be very good shooting. All right, rapid fire number 1. The Air Force is going to review discharges of troops with mental health conditions. This is from the Air Force Times. The Air Force said Thursday it will review the cases of former airmen who claim the service discriminated against them due to a mental health condition or being victimized by sexual assault or harassment by ousting them with an other than honorable discharge. Those discharges will get a fresh look as part of a proposed settlement in Johnson versus Kendall, a class action lawsuit filed against the Air Force in federal district court in Connecticut in 2021 sounds like I've gone back in time. To challenge the service's separation practices. I'm glad the Air Force is committed to taking less than honorably discharged veterans' mental health and trauma seriously, plaintiff Martin Johnson said in a statement released by the service. The settlement gives troops who served in Iraq and Afghanistan a path to claim the full slate of post-service government benefits after being shut out of the VA system. Upgrading those discharges to honorable could ease veterans' medical and financial burdens and open new doors in their civilian lives. The Department of the Air Force's actions to resolve this case underscore our continued commitment to provide former airmen and guardians fairness, due process, equity, and justice in all cases that are submitted to our review boards. Alice Wagner, the civilian office official in charge of Air Force manpower, said in the release. The settlement applies to members of the active duty Air Force and Space Force, Air National Guard, and Air Force Reserve who were discharged after October 7, 2001, with separations classified as under honorable conditions general or under other honorable conditions. Veterans who unsuccessfully appealed their discharge on or after September 13, 2015 will get an automatic review, according to the settlement's website. Those who tried to get their discharge upgraded between September 13, 2006 and September 12, 2015 can apply for reconsideration. Well, this is interesting. What do you think?
Well, I love it, actually, because I know there's probably been hundreds, if not thousands, of people discharged and given those discharges that don't entitle them to VA benefits or access to health care. And so I love that the Air Force is going to take a step and reviewing these discharges to allow for some recourse for these people. And maybe the other services will follow suit. I really do think that it gives them hope to be able to get some of those services, whether it was a service-connected mental illness or something that happened to them while they were serving. So I love it. I hope that people are paying more attention to that, and that we've had a real tidal wave and a shift in the thinking about mental health. And I think that it's the military is taking a really good look and a fair assessment. So I love it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad they're taking a look at it. Okay, let's go into rapid fire number 2. Drunken special operators struggle to finish a mission in new action comedy Obliterated. This is from the Military Times. A lot of people who serve in the military have had to go to work after having a little too much fun the night before. It's not the most fun we've ever had, but somehow we manage, even if the workday begins with physical training. A hangover run is just an unspoken aspect of the warrior ethos, but most of us aren't in special operations. Netflix's new streaming series, Obliterated, looks at what might happen if an elite team of special operators had to perform at their absolute best while suffering from the effects of a long night. This new action comedy is where 24 meets The Hangover. It's even set in Las Vegas. Ava Winters, Shelley Hennig, Teen Wolf the movie, is a CIA officer who does everything by the book. Chad McKnight, who is Nick Zano, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, from Nick Zano, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, is a U.S. Navy SEAL who leads a combined force team of special operators in a mission to disarm a nuclear weapon in Las Vegas and end a global threat. Like most people who finish a job well done, they go out to celebrate. Their celebration takes a turn when the team gets a call informing them the nuke they just took out was a decoy and the real nuclear device is still out there. Still feeling the celebration, they now must get up and neutralize the real nuclear weapon in a matter of hours, if they can even find it. Rounding out the elite but impaired team is Trunk, a Navy SEAL, Terrence Terrell, Marine Sniper Angela Gomez, Paolo Lazaro, from The Walking Dead, and NSA Technical Advisor Maya Lerner, Kimmy Rutledge, Air Force pilot Paul Young, Eugene Kim, and Army EOD technician Haggerty from C. Thomas Howell and Red Dawn. Accidentally joining them on the mission is Lana, a Las Vegas party girl, Allison Gorski from Shrinking. Obliterated was created by John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Held, the same creative minds who brought us Cobra Kai. Hurwitz and Schlossberg also created the Harold and Kumar films, while Held is known for Hot Tub Time Machine. The trio also directed and produced the new series. All 8 episodes of Obliterated will be available for streaming on Netflix starting November 30th, 2023. I mean, it sounds like another movie or TV show that veterans will watch and go, that's not right. That would never happen.
We gotta love Hollywood, right? As if there isn't already enough crazy stories that happen in real life. But I'm pretty sure we've all had those hangover runs or, experience the feeling of being out late the night before and having to show up for PT at 06 and go on a long run. Nobody's feeling good all day. So based on maybe a true story, but it sounds pretty far-fetched to me. But Netflix is coming out and grasping at straws, trying to find a storyline that, non-military, non-veterans would think is funny. Yeah. Looks like an all-star lineup, though. They've got some pretty big names in this series.
It looks interesting. I bet it's going to be funny because of the way that it's structured. It seems funny, but like to say we've got one Navy SEAL that's going to defuse a nuclear device, and he's not there on a team. Famously, there's so much involved in that, and I don't know. I'm going to check it out though. I think it'll be funny.
I don't think they had a military advisor on the set. My hunch is they're just making it up as they go along, but we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, rapid fire number 3. The American Legion Post 109 donates $4,500 to feed Vail's school children. The Greater Vail Community Resources accepted a check for $4,500 from McCulloch Wagner American Legion Post 109 in Tucson, Arizona on September 19th of 2023 at the Post. The funds will be used to help make sure Vail's children have plenty to eat on weekends and during school vacations. Accepting the funds for the food bank were Susan Summers, Liana Hicks, and Regina Tedman. Presenting were Post 109 Commander Andre Koester and Vice Commander Roosevelt McKnight. According to Callie Tippett, the Director of Development and Community Outreach, currently the greatest need is keeping pace with the growth of the weekend backpack meals program. Callie, in a letter to the Post, writes, "We started school last year at 157 children served and ended the school year with serving 330 children. We have started the new school year serving 338 children, and as of this week, and it's still September, are providing weekend meal backpacks to 362 children. Right now, the number is increasing a few children each week." The program requires compact, shelf-stable food that can be prepared without adult supervision. Sometimes these items are donated, but to serve the number of children shown above, we need to purchase food in bulk. Monetary donations are currently the most effective way to serve these children. We have just launched a Fill the Backpack fundraiser to keep pace with the growing need. Our Legion family pulled together to help meet the needs of the children of the Vail community. American Legion Post 109 invites all veterans of all ranks, serving in all areas with all branches, to join the American Legion and help us serve both our community and brother and sister veterans and their families. The American Legion is a great resource when it comes to food insecurity. They do a lot of food drives and things like that. And you can see Post 109, what an awesome job they're doing. But when we have like the government shutdown, when they were talking about doing that, and we're kind of, in flux with what's going to happen, I started to reach out to Stronghold Community Food Pantry, which is the food pantry I partner with. And I said, what are we going to do? We should get ahead of this, because people are, even though they will get paid, then what happens? It starts to, is it going to be delayed? Are they, how it's just so much up in the air. There's so many people that are living paycheck to paycheck as it is. They won't be able, there's going to be a lot more people that won't be able to afford food if the government shuts down. So if you have an American Legion near you, see if they're doing anything food pantry wise. And if they're not, maybe you could get it started, help feed the kids, feed the families.
I love it. Actually, yeah, the American Legion to the rescue again. So there's so many, great posts out there who are getting ahead of this, whether it's a government shutdown or, whatever it is, but they're always to the rescue. And like you said, you can't go too far here in America and without finding a post that's ready to stand by, people ready to help. So I love that story in Tucson, Arizona.
Out in Tucson, way to go. Well, Amy, it's been great for you to pop in, do a little guest host this week. Do you have any final thoughts for us? Anything that you have going on or anything you want us to know? I know the Be the One podcast, that's huge. People are going to tune into that, and they don't have to subscribe to anything new. If they already subscribe to Tango Alpha Lima, they will get Be the One.
Yes. Well, really exciting. Coming up, I'm going to be heading out. American Legion is a proud sponsor for the MCon Live event happening in Las Vegas over Veterans Day weekend. And as we get ready for Veterans Day, there's so many ways to get involved, connect with other veterans. American Legion is a go-to. But if you can make it to Las Vegas, November 10th, 11th and 12th, there's going to be some amazing guest speakers, events, booths set up for veterans. It's designed by veterans for veterans. And so the American Legion is a proud partner with that. I'll be there. Waco Hoover will be there because he's leading the charge and putting this together. So we're really excited. Is another way to connect with the American Legion with veterans out there. And, check us out on YouTube, on the website, of course, Be the One podcast, and look forward to seeing more and, catching the next Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And for everybody out there that you've made it this far, thank you so much. I need you to subscribe to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast. You got to do it. Apple podcast, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you consume podcasts. If you could leave us a review, that'd be awesome. Give us a big old 5-star rating. If you don't give us 5 stars and you don't leave us a review, I think what I'm probably going to do is sneak into your house, and I'm going to change all of the expiration dates on your food so that they are actually a good 1.5 to 2 years old. So suddenly all your food is it's expired. And you may think, I don't care, I'll eat expired food. I know that you live with somebody that does care, because that's how the dynamic of every relationship. You got one that cares, one that doesn't. They're going to go in, they're going to clean your fridge. You're going to come home and you're going to be like, where is my mayonnaise? Why don't I have my gherkins that I've been saving for years? My mom gave me that honey. Honey never expires. Oh, it expires now. You know why? Because you didn't leave a 5-star rating for Tango Alpha Lima. The world needs to know how much you love us. If you have a guest recommendation, go to legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima. Click on the Suggest a Guest link. I hope you have a great week. I love you. I miss you. Come home.